All right, it's that time again, ladies and gentlemen, for the Political Pulpit. I'm your host, Josh Navarrete, and it's time for that night owl broadcast. It's that 10 o'clock in the evening. You're going to bed. If you're not asleep already, you're in that doom scroll, but you caught this video. We're going to go right into, of course, what's going on with the new claims that now it's France's fault and it's Egyptian plane's fault and even Turning Point's fault. Some pretty heavy claims. We're going to get into that a little bit, but of course, there's a lot of news to cover. So we're going to do all of that and more when we come right back.
We pray for love and unity, and that the church would find new zeal and commitment to the mission and purpose of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
You're a liar! You're a liar!
Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart.
Okay, we're having some technical difficulties, but I'm going to make sure that it gets straightened out pretty soon here. But the point is, we want to get to all of the news that's going on today. All right, so now that I get my gears together and all the different apparatuses in one place, let me know in the live stream if you guys can hear me okay. I want to make sure that this is coming through clean. I know that my presentation, my intro didn't go in good, but it's all gravy. We're going live, and even at this time of night. All right, so first of all, let's get into all that's happening. But before we do that, make sure you hit the like and share button. Make sure that you share this with your friends. Hit that notification bell so that every time we go live, you are notified and you know what's going on. Something really cool that I noticed, I got this whole thing in our streaming software where we are actually in portrait mode. So if you're catching us on portrait mode, I'm curious to see how that looks. And if you don't like how it looks, let us know in the comments and we'll try to fix that for you. All right. So Candace Owens, of course, is going on a new rant and a new claim. Well, it's taken her down this long road of claims, and it seems that she has come to the conclusion that it's France's fault. France is involved. Now, there's some really interesting claims about Maryland and where there's this community of French Americans, and they are extremely wealthy and elite people that are in the chemical business and have a lot of power. Well, that being said, there is some new claims of a donor for Turning Point USA that is of French descent. Or this family is from France. And that's the big takeaway today. That's the big takeaway of the claim that France and Macron legionnaires is now involved. So what does that mean going forward? Listen, I think this is all going to continue to evolve. We don't know what the trial is going to look like. We do know that the trial is actively changing. And it looks like they are not going to allow video, and there's some gag orders that are extending even to employees and other influencers, which is kind of strange if you ask me. Why would that be the case? Why is the judge ordering gag orders already for people that are speaking out or against or could testify publicly about this stuff that wouldn't normally be able to testify in court or might not even be called to the stand, but could be very valuable witnesses? We want to know where this person was during this date. Tyler Robinson, was he on campus? Where's the video footage? There has to be some footage of this man on the rooftop taking a shot if he's the one that took the shot. The other question is, if he is the one that took the shot, did he act alone? Well, we know there was a furry friend that he had that was in the, let's say, transgender or the big alphabet community, we'll call it. And this person had a relationship with him. Now we have friends that are saying that they saw them in a relationship and they knew that they were actively together. And there are witnesses coming out saying and, verifying these claims. Now, That's not really the big concern, right? Although, it doesn't surprise us that they act in violence and that they always take it way too far because of the rhetoric that we are hearing constantly from the left through not only just social media, but the legacy media is constantly making claims against the right and causing, we believe, they're the reason there's a lot of violence when it comes to our ideas and our logic, because what else is there to do unless kick, scream, and set buildings on fire and other crazy things like shoot people in public? Doesn't seem like it'd be far-fetched to convince somebody to go ahead and take that shot if it was Tyler Robinson, allegedly. I think the claim right now from Ms. Candace is that it wasn't even him, that it was probably an operative, a government operative. She even made the claim, we'll get into that in a little bit, she even made the claim that there were adults that were in the room that nobody even recognized before. It was a public event. It was announced very quickly, very short in advance. And that was reason to believe that why there be non-university students and guests from God knows where. Now, plenty of footage that we could all go through. There are some footage as well where there was an interview there was an attempted interview of somebody that was part of Turning Point USA, and then they shut it down quickly. Very strange. You've all seen that video. I know I have. And it is weird. Why wouldn't they want him to say what he saw? Because I think that's extremely important. I also want to take away that it's not too far-fetched that people stop and film, even in tragic moments like that, because it happens all the time. I mean, you can go through any of the social media platforms and see footage of crazy events happening, whether it be fights or accidents or catastrophes. I've always wondered how there's always a cameraman on a plane crash. That's always strange. So it doesn't surprise me that there are people stopping to film. So that to me is not the biggest question. I think the biggest question right now is Candace onto something, or is she really off her rocker? Now she's attacking pastors, and then she goes back to say, well, I don't mean all pastors across the world, now just Turning Point pastors, because they're going after our friend, Pastor I can't say his last name, John Amuchaku. I think that's how you say it. Anyways, great guy. I've met him before. I don't know. I don't mean to call him a friend like we know each other, because we don't. But we follow him closely because he's fought for children's rights and protecting children in public schools. I love his mission and what he's all about. But recently, he's gone after Candace, and he's made sure to let everybody know that what she's doing is hurting Charlie Kirk's legacy and the grieving process for Charlie Kirk, his family, and close friends. Well, I can see how that's a good point, because I'm always concerned that, she's starting to implicate people that are innocent, as if someone is in the camp, very close to him, traveled with him, but also guilty of betraying Charlie Kirk. People like Mikey McCoy and Rob McCoy, his father, people in the faith community. And then, of course, you have Tyler Boyer and others that are part of the Turning Point apparatus. Now, could there be any accusations where maybe they didn't act in good faith? Sure. I think in any apparatus, any organization, there could be a situation where people didn't act as honest as they should have. But I really find it hard to believe, and listen, this is just my opinion. I don't know that this is the case. I could be completely off, and I'll be the first to admit, if Charlie Kirk was betrayed by his own organization and his closest allies, what a tragedy. What a horrible way to turn your back on your leader, on an ordained man, by the way, ordained man of God who is preaching the gospel and fighting for the good of the American people. So saying all that, I want to get into some of the stuff that Candace said. She's got some tweets and stuff that she's pointing to. There's one tweet that says that I believe that the purpose of Macron lawsuit was that it was supposed to go nowhere because Candace was supposed to have been assassinated before the case got to court. Then they could forever claim that Candace was lying, which is evident by the fact that they were suing her for defamation before someone killed Candace. This was their plan, but I pray that it has now been foiled. This is because Candace Owens claims that she can verify and she has evidence that the Macron family or the Macron apparatus or government in France has put a hit on Candace, which is weird, by the way, because Candace Owens, when she said she was going off the radar, was seen at Dolly World. That is during the holiday season on a conservative breeding ground and crowds of people that probably couldn't be controlled in the sense that, you probably couldn't stop some assassination attempt in that type of crowd. And if she was concerned for her life, what is she doing in a mass of people? Now, I only seen one video and one photo actually of Candace at Dolly World. I don't know for a fact that it was the same weekend she claims there was a hit on her life. So I cannot claim that to be true. However, if it is, that is so strange. And sometimes I wonder, and you guys tell me, sometimes I wonder, are we the ones in this petri dish of information, consuming it and reacting to it and responding to it and being stuck to it? Because sometimes I feel like our legs are being pulled, and sometimes I feel like things go out into the internet world on purpose so that we can discuss it and keep their pockets full, and we keep fighting amongst each other. That doesn't seem too far off. I feel like it's probably pretty close to the truth. Now, there might be some concern on her. She might be onto something, and I don't want to discount it. I just want to question it. I'm going to push back as much as I can in the sense that I want some evidence. There's tweets that she shows and some documents that she actually draws up and some court stuff that she does pull up, but not a whole lot of evidence. It's always her sources. Like, who are her sources? And of course, you can't give up your sources, but at the same time, that's what legacy media does. Sources say that Donald Trump is, all the things, all the Russia. These were sources unnamed and unknown. Well, here we are on this side of things, and Candace is seemingly to do the same thing, that she has sources, yet we don't see a whole lot of proof. Unless you guys have proof that I don't know about, please, in the comments, let us know. Let us know what you're seeing, because for me, for the most part, I just don't see it. All right, so that's my dashboard. We'll get into the news a little bit. Let's take a look at what Candace is saying. Sorry to show that face. I don't mean to disrespect her in any way, but that's just where it landed. Let's take a look.
Catholics and the Orthodox have kept history. They know what was going on in Europe, not the fake history that's packaged and sold to Americans. They know what the Freemasons were up to. Freemasons who caused all of those revolutions against really the Christian empire across Europe. The idea really, I now think, is keep Americans fat and dumb and drugged and propagandized, right? And then when we need to, use their men to mass murder other Christians overseas. That's the big picture that I'm beginning to see. All of this to say, did you know that our FBI was founded by Charles Joseph Bonaparte? I had no idea. I hate to be American ignorant, but I had no idea. And yes, that man was the founder. And yes, that is like Napoleon Bonaparte. His grandfather, Charles's grandfather, was Napoleon Bonaparte's brother. This is great uncle. Napoleon Bonaparte was his great uncle, which makes it kind of hilarious, right? Because our tip yesterday from that person in Wilmington, Delaware, was asserting that the FBI had these offices, these kind of hidden offices, maybe kind of in buildings that appear to be in part controlled by French-American families who might have some conflicted interests.
Okay, so that's the part, and then she goes on to say here, because she was actually called out online for releasing this address on King Street or whatever it was in Maryland. And it so happens that this FBI, CIA, and other agencies that are all in this building, so is her lawyer's office. And the accusation online, I don't actually know that she saw it, or maybe she's just ignoring it, was that somebody duped her. Somebody used her own lawyer's address to make it seem like she is onto something, but it really was her own lawyer, the lawyer that was representing her to file paperwork for this lawsuit that she's in. I don't know. It just does seem weird. She goes down this whole like DuPont. If you guys know, in Maryland, there's even, DuPont Circle. There is this big name. The last name DuPont is very prevalent in this area. Lots of people know about this. She's making the connection somehow, some way, that the FBI and the French Legionnaires are all involved. It just seems so crazy, but also they're saying that there's a hit on her and the government has yet to say anything. President Trump has it on her desk, and the FBI and the terrorism organizations all know about it, but have yet to put out a statement. But yet she says she has sources. Y'all tell me what you think.
Particularly, we were discussing the DuPont family, right? Mentioning the DuPont family led to a flurry of tips coming out of Delaware. It was incredible. People in Wilmington saying, they own kind of everything, like everything, hospitals, schools, buildings, you name it, it is theirs. And then we received some more tips from people who were invested in sort of the urban legends of the DuPont family. They were telling us, hey, I went to school with DuPonts. Like, there's a lot of stories there. And these stories sound a lot like what you were covering in your Becoming Brigitte series. You remember, actually, right before we had been sort of.
Okay, she goes down this long road to tie in Brigitte Macron and everybody else. Okay, so this is kind of the stuff that's weird, and it seems like a stretch. Let's be honest, it seems like a stretch because she says her tips have given her evidence, but yet we don't see the evidence. That's the crazy part of all this. Okay, so there's an article she's showing. It says, here's how the News Journal describes the convicted rapist in this case. She's describing this person, Richards, who is unemployed and supported by a trust fund, owns a 5,000 square foot mansion in Greenfield. He bought it for $1.8 million in 2005. He also lists a home. His great grandfather is DuPont family patriarch in DuPont, and his father is Robert H. Richards, a retired partner in Richards, Layton, and Finger law firm. Okay, she's going on to make the connections. All right. John DuPont shot Olympic wrestler David Schultz dead in the driveway of the family's mansion in 1996. 2 years later, the decomposing body of Las Vegas prostitute was found stuffed in the air conditioner of a seedy motel. She was killed by 3 hired hands, and as Dominic Dune reported in Vanity Fair, the money traced back to the DuPont family. All right, lots of effort to bring this person or this family into question. Okay, now this is the part where she's tying this all into this area and then also tying it into a family that is related and also donors to TPUSA. And today, if I can find the tweet fast enough, she's even calling for donors to get out. That's okay. To me, that's huge. Like, if you guys really think about this, that's a big deal to be accusing donors to be connected or certain donors and then telling donors to get out. That could hurt the very organization that Charlie worked so hard to build. This is where I'm like, could you be going too far? Could you be hurting Charlie's legacy by telling and convincing donors, big time donors, to get out? And maybe she feels maybe she has this righteous feeling where she needs to protect the legacy from people she believes to be the bad apples. She even starts to mention very close people like I can't remember his name, but he is the spokesperson for Turning Point. Basically, right now, he's running the Charlie Kirk show. And for whatever reason, I can't remember his name, but you guys can help me in the comments. Okay, let's get to the rest.
Of an LLC She's supposed to have a registered agent, and people tend to choose between Wyoming and Delaware, sometimes Las Vegas, to form their own corporations. But wow, what are the chances that Stacey Sheridan has a registered agent that's in that building too? Because I have LLCs, and I've got LLCs in Delaware, and I'm not even in Wilmington. There's a lot to choose from. It's a whole state. But Stacey Sheridan's registered agent is there too. People had noted, by the way, that she had a few LLCs, which she was getting paid through. It could all be above board. I don't really know. But the one I'm speaking about is Cloverstone Ventures. Stacey, by the way, is the Senior Advancement Director at Turning Point USA. She was brought in specifically by Tyler Boyer to raise money and to take Turning Point to the next level. And regarding Tyler Boyer, now we could say maybe a couple of weeks ago that he's a criminal, but actually Donald Trump pardoned him. He pardoned Tyler Boyer a couple of weeks ago, so we can't, that's actually not real. He's been pardoned. But he is always up to no good, I can tell you that. And he brings in this Stacey Sheridan. I got to tell you, I did not like her at all. Just the vibe was off. I did not like her, and I expressed that to Charlie, to him.
What in the world? Sorry, my audio is off the whole time. You guys didn't hear anything I said. Basically, to rewind, what I was saying was, it's interesting that she's mentioning and implicating Tyler. If that's the case, I didn't know he was pardoned. Did you guys know that he was pardoned? That's absolutely crazy. I had no idea why he would get pardoned over a couple weeks ago. Very, very interesting. I had no idea. The other thing is, let's be honest. We got to pray for Turning Point and the employees that were close to him, people that were his partners, people that were there with him. If first of all, if they're bad apples, they need to leave or they need to be tried and investigated. If not, they're probably going through a lot, and they also need our prayers. Candace, if she is going off her rocker, we need to pray for her sanity, the obsessions, and the anxiety she's probably going through. But if she's right, we need to pray for her protection. So I guess we would never really know what to say until we see evidence on her end, until the government comes out and says it's been recognized and true and this stuff has been happening. But I honestly doubt we're going to hear anything from President Trump. We're going to hear anything from FBI or CIA. This is kind of how these things go, right? This is kind of how it all goes. We end up finding out that let's just say we get documents, then it's heavily redacted. By the way, where are the Epstein files? We still haven't seen anything. Have you all seen anything that's even more than what we already knew? This is just going to keep going. This is like perpetual content. This is going to just feed the beast and feed the conspiracy theories and feed the things that aren't true. And we might never, ever find out the truth. That's the most frustrating thing for this all. I want to get back to what she's saying here, because this is really important. This is a big deal, because she's saying, I'm going to rewind it a little bit, that Tyler Boyer has been pardoned. That's crazy. For what?
Actually, Donald Trump pardoned him. He pardoned Tyler Boyer a couple of weeks ago. And I'm not even in Wilmington. There's a lot to choose from. It's a whole state. But Stacey Sheridan's registered agent is there too. People had noted, by the way, that she had a few LLCs, which she was getting paid through. It could all be above board. I don't really know, but the one I'm speaking about is Cloverstone Ventures. Stacy, by the way, is the Senior Advancement Director at Turning Point USA. She was brought in specifically by Tyler Boyer to raise money and to take.
She spoke at the memorial. She was one of the first people to speak and walked up with Tyler. So that's how you know who the person is, if you recognized her.
Turning Point to the next level. And regarding Tyler Boyer, now we could say maybe a couple of weeks ago that he's a criminal, but actually Donald Trump pardoned him. He pardoned Tyler Boyer a couple of weeks ago, so we can't, that's actually not real. He's been pardoned. But he is always up to no good, I can tell you that. And he brings in this Stacey Sheridan. I got to tell you, I did not like her at all. Just the vibe was off. I did not like her, and I expressed that to Charlie to his face when she was hired. That's when I kind of notoriously said to him, you can't go down this path with money, okay? Because people that want to raise money and you bring people over with the incentive of just wanting a lot of money, you can run into trouble that way. Which is why I didn't feel great about the fact that she was so involved after Charlie's assassination. Stacey Sheridan is the one that was filming. Everyone was like, who's filming his casket as it's being escorted off of Air Force Two, crying, holding that Stacey. Like I said, I just felt spiritually that Charlie hiring her was a mistake. She didn't pass my vibe check.
Okay, so that's okay. This is where I get on the fence of things, right? Because let's go back a little bit. When somebody was filming, or when the casket was being filmed, and you had Erica, showing that intimate moment, saying that she loved Charlie, which was very moving. It was different, but who are we to say how, and what it's like to mourn that way? But it's very true how, I guess this Stacey Sheridan was the camera person. Did any of y'all know that? Not I, and I know plenty of people at the Turning Point offices. But this is how you know that Candace has inside information. So this is the wrestling that I have of like, could she be right, or is she going crazy? But then she comes up with this stuff, and I'm like, man, how would she know that? How would she know that Sherry was the one that did it? So it makes me kind of, like, it's very frustrating, because I want to say, you know what, Candace, chill. You need prayer, and you just need to back off Charlie's name and the Turning Point apparatus, because there is a fight to continue on. But then she comes out with some of the stuff that only she could find out. So she must have some information on the inside, right? I mean, think about that. That's pretty specific information. I don't think a whole lot of people have known that Sheridan was the one that was filming, right? I don't know. Not me. Let's keep going.
Suddenly she's everywhere. She's eulogizing Charlie Kirk on stage. She is capturing intimate photos of his casket. She's then at the White House shedding tears over this fake holiday that's been created, when I just want to solve actually who did this. And the whole thing was making my skin crawl, if I'm being honest. Her involvement specifically made my skin crawl, and I want to say that openly and honestly, okay? But she's there. And she's there in this squishy block. In this one block, we are all just chilling Wilmington, right? And we would have never gotten to this block, by the way, had it not been for the Egyptian planes. Us simply tracking these Egyptian planes, and somebody giving us a tip like, hey, kind of weird that's flying through Wilmington. And we go, aha, lights on. And here we are, right? We learn about this French and Israeli Ace Partners being the second largest shareholder of Satis. They decide to lease out this hangar. We learn that requires federal approval because it sits on federal airways. And maybe that means it requires French approval. Who knows? I don't know anything.
All right, so let's cut through some of that stuff. All right, here's the next thing. She writes this out on July 20th, from Cairo through Paris to Omaha, Nebraska. This is her whole list of everything that she puts out on a timeline, which is some serious dedication. I'm sure she has a whole team for that, which is, wonderful, great. Okay. I don't really know, like, where to go with her timeline, because she somehow figured out how to track these planes But to me, it doesn't, unless you guys know something else, let me know. Like I seriously don't really know what in the world these tracking these planes. I think, just because a plane is tracked to a certain group of people, someone like Charlie, when he's traveling the world, I actually know some people that followed him to different events and went to, I think they were in South Korea just shortly before he passed. I know a group of people that went with him, and it's not too far off, and they probably had their own airplane out of God knows where, but it's not crazy to think that these people don't travel with Charlie to see him do his events. And so sometimes I feel like these things can be misleading. Again, I'm not discounting what she's saying. It just does. Somebody said, it's content for brain dead idiots. And I can see, I guess, why you're saying that, because, it's like Candace goes on this rant and says she has information on Turning Point, and then everybody else jumps on it and shows clips like we're doing today. To me, I'm just asking the question, what do you guys think? What do you guys know? Maybe there's other tipsters out there that have more information. I still can't say that I've seen evidence, right? I don't really know what evidence could possibly be out there that she has that's going to convince everybody that it was a higher group of people that did this. She goes on to say more about these airplanes and stuff. Like, I don't know. It's a lot. It's a lot, guys. Okay, so let's get into this portion here, and then we'll cut it loose on the news.
Egyptian planes at Turning Point USA didn't want them to be discussed. I don't know. But I am going to find out. I think we kind of have found out in a weird, really effed up way, actually. It makes my stomach turn. I'm going to miss Charlie. I really am going to miss Charlie. And I think when Charlie was assassinated, there was something about it. I knew that this story was going to be dark. Instantly, I knew that Charlie was betrayed. They laughed at me. Oh, you had a dream. Charlie told you he was, yeah, Charlie told me that he was betrayed. And I think part of the mourning was the grief that I was experiencing was in large part due to my understanding that this was going to be missional for me. I think I knew deep down that this was going to be missional. And I kind of knew deep down that.
All right. So when someone goes on a mission like that, it's a big deal, right? Because when they feel called to do it, she's not going to stop. Candace, obviously is the type of person that is not going to quit. Okay, that's a big deal. So she's going to go on and continue, and every day is going to be a new. It's going to be a new thing. I do got to say, though, I don't like that she kind of like, she shows his private text to him, something she did today that I think is a little bit dirty. And you guys tell me what you think. Today, she mentioned an ex-girlfriend, and she showed a tweet. She showed a private text to her with him asking if he should change his clothes to this date. I'm going to see if I can pull it up. With that kind of audience, why would you do that when his wife is grieving? It just seems like it's calculated.
He was just kind of in love with this girl. And he was asking me, should I wear this? And this is the text message. It's so sweet. He said, do I have to change this shirt? And I wrote back, yes. And throw it away if you can. Charlie. And he writes, okay. And he's wearing a Turning Point early shirt that somebody, I think, gave to him. He's stitched on. Is it stitched on? Is it ironed on? I don't know. But I was like, Charlie, burn it. Obviously, burn that shirt. And it makes me, it's the stuff that makes me cry and makes me sad because he just was so young. Charlie was so young and he was such a good person. And I'm also going to miss the young conversations that you have when you're.
Okay. So, I don't want to make a big deal out of that. You're right. Patriot over 50. It's probably not a big deal. I just thought it was weird. Like, why bring up an ex-girlfriend or something? It's probably not a big deal, but you never know. You just kind of feel like, what's her motives to continue to dig this up? And maybe she's onto something. Maybe she's not. Maybe she just is having a really hard time dealing with the loss of her dear friend and wants to find out the truth. We do know this. When will we find out the truth from the government? It just doesn't happen, guys. It just doesn't happen because there are greater, more elite people in charge that control those that we see. So I can see how people like Candace are going guns blazing, trying to find the truth. And there's a level of appreciation for it. I cringe a little bit at the damage it's doing to some of the people that are innocent and love Charlie so much. And there are some friends, I got to say, that are even on the faith side that are so devastated. People that worked tirelessly for him, people that worked so close to bring change in America, to get elections clean again, to make sure that people voted their values. I know some really great people that just worked so hard, and some of them are devastated. Well, obviously a lot of them are devastated, but some of the names that are being implicated, kind of hurts them too. But I get it. She's on a mission. What am I going to say about that mission? I know sometimes your passion, your zeal, your zealous ambition to get to the truth, it doesn't matter who gets hurt. It just matters. The truth is what matters, right? And the truth shall set you free. But yes, the truth hurts. All right, guys, I want to get into some of the news. Let's see. Let's get to some of the comments here. Actually, I think caring about anything these right grifters think or say is evidence you have mental health issues. Well, surface tension news. I don't know about that, but thank you very much for being in the comments. You're helping us out. Thanks, buddy. Thank you, friend. They joke all the time. I get it. I know they do. But sometimes maybe I'm just a little bit sensitive to it all and think, well, Eric is grieving. Let's not be too harsh and bring up ex-girlfriends. They're being fooled, Josh, and she cares about the good ones. And wants them to be aware is all too. All right. Well, good point. Well, we'll just go with that and we'll continue to roll with it. I want to show you guys my dashboard really quick. Let's see if I can pull it up properly. This is basically how I view the news, y'all. And I want you guys to take a look because there's a lot of it. Let's get into it. This is my Twitter dashboard. There's so much to cover. I'm going to scroll down in here. And let's get to this post here. If I can find it. My goodness, it's all the way down here. All right. Full remarks from Pam Bondi. Man, you guys, what do you guys think about Pam Bondi? It's a little bit... some say she should be fired, right? What do you guys think?
Sarah heartbreaks for her family. And Andy is doing well. His parents, Melody and Jason, wanted me to tell you, and I was with them yesterday in the hospital. He's a miracle. I was there when the surgeons came in, and they wanted you to know this. He's a miracle, and if everyone in this country can continue to pray for that family. He's got a long road ahead of him, but he is a miracle. And of course, our DC initiative is led by our amazing, and the monster will be held accountable who did this. Our marshals, of course, are leading the DC Safe effort. We have made over 7,000 arrests at your direction. DC is safe again. Working with everyone around this table, Pete and everyone. Scott and I were in Memphis together last week. And everyone, and Bobby, your HHS, doctors and medics are on the ground to help people in Memphis and DC. In Memphis, we've made over 3,500 arrests so far. And Homeland Security, Christy, you've been instrumental in this. But it's everyone working together as a team. We even have Treasury agents out there. It's unbelievable, on the ground in DC and Memphis. Of course, law enforcement first, FBI.
All right. She's going on, you guys. So first of all, let's just send our love and prayers to the National Guard that lost their life and that are fighting for their lives. What a tragic. This guy goes out onto the streets and it's said that he cries out, Allahu Akbar, whatever they say, whatever these terrorists do in a cowardly act and shot our National Guard. They should be held accountable and it should be swift and does not play games. And I could trust that President Trump is not playing games. because this is what we're fighting up against. How many of y'all know that the open borders brought this to America? We just have a guy that's under in Arizona who planned, the plot was just destroyed by the FBI. He was planning to put bombs in Christian churches. He was planning to bomb Christian churches in Arizona. And thank God that they caught him in advance. But we can't for 1 minute like pause or act like things couldn't happen, because there are sleeper cells. There are people that are hiding, planning, and plotting on more attacks on American citizens and apparently our National Guard. We haven't even got to the point where the media just covers ICE in such a negative way on purpose to escalate the situation, because we know what's going to happen in the next year. They're going to amp it up. They're going to turn up the heat, and they're going to antagonize people and try to get more violence to come out. And then they're going to cry, see, it's because of his policies. They already have Congress or people in the Senate saying, the military shouldn't follow President Donald Trump's orders. Well, that should be punishable, right? How could you tell your own servicemen, your own military, not to follow the orders of the commander in chief? Tell me how that is legal. Tell me how that's okay. Well, it's not, and it should never happen. It should never be a part of anybody in Congress, in the Senate, in any place like that. It's absolutely asinine to think that that's legal and that you are running public office in our country. It's absolutely crazy and should be dealt with. And I'm believing it's going to be dealt with. Okay, I want to get to Senator Rubio. How many love Senator Rubio, man? He is doing a phenomenal job. You guys know it. I
Thank
think
you, Mr. President. First of all, this is a very talented team, as you've seen.
Mistaken.
As you know, because you picked every single one that's on. You deserve immense credit for doing that. It's an honor to be in this role. It's also an honor to be involved in and be a witness to what I believe is the most transformational year in American foreign policy since the end of the Second World War, at least. And it's transformational because for the first time in a long time, we have a president who basically puts America at the forefront of every decision we make in our relations with the world. And that may sound weird to people, like, of course you always do. No, that hasn't always been the case until about a year ago. And I think we've all witnessed in our own respective spaces how in every interaction the president has with the world, the goal he has in mind is very simple. Does what you want us to do, or is it what we're going, or is it going to make us stronger? Is it going to make us richer? Is it going to make us safer? If it is, he's for it. If it's not, he's against it. If something's going to make America weaker or poorer or less safe, the president's going to be against it. And every single thing he has done in our foreign policy has been driven by the American people in mind. And I can go down the list. Why has he focused on mass migration? It's very simple, because no country is safe if you can just walk in without us knowing who you are into your country. We've seen the destruction that that's wreaking, not just in our own country, but the impact that it's having in Europe and in many other parts of the world. You talk about trade deals and the trade situation has been involved in. People, all this reporting on it. It's very simple. The president views the last 40 years as an era of which American workers and American farmers have been ripped off. They've been ripped off, and what he's saying is we want to have trade with the world, but it has to be a trade in which American businesses and American workers and the products they make and what American farmers grow and produce has a fair shot to be sold around the world. On issue after issue, that's been the case. You talk about foreign aid reforms. This is not our money. This is taxpayer money. When the president has said we're going to do foreign aid, but we're going to do foreign aid for countries that are aligned with the United States and in a way that doesn't waste the taxpayers' money.
Speaking of taxpayers' money, how many are ready for taxes to go away, income tax? That would be crazy. That was something that was said today. I don't know that it's actually going to happen. You guys let me know if you think it's going to happen. It seems ridiculous. It seems like not possible. Caroline Leavitt today says Caroline Leavitt brings the White House press room to a complete silence with an update on Trump's MRI scans. Oh, that's not the one I wanted. But they gave President Trump a positive scan and say that he's in overall health. Yeah, that's awesome, and that's what we'd hope. Let's take a look at this video. Hopefully it's not terrible. Let's see what it says.
The storm whispers to the warrior that you cannot withstand my strength. And the warrior whispers back, I am the storm. Our lineage and our legacy hails back to Athens, to Rome. Our ancestors built the cities. They produced the art and architecture. They built the industry. Thousands of years of warriors who pulled us out of the caves and the darkness into the light. The light will defeat the dark. We will prevail over the forces of wickedness and evil, and we will defend this world. We will defend goodness. We will defend light. We will defend virtue, because we are on the side of goodness. We are on the side of God.
All right. Well, let's hope that's the case, because, man, it seems like even the people on the right side are so divided on things. It just seems like I think it's going to heat up. Remember, the 2016 to 2020, we went through Russia hoax. We went through the pandemic. We went through so many other things, the lawfare that happened, the election frauds that happened. What do you guys think is going to happen in the next 3 years? This year, like, stuff went down. God bless Charlie Kirk and his family, and, you know, the life that he lived, the legacy that he left. But with AI coming, right, with all that's on its way, somebody said here, like, takeover, Terminator's takeover. I mean, it's seriously, you know, there's a scripture in the Bible where it talks about this like statue would be raised up and people would listen and do what the statue says. Could that be an AI robot? Could that be a prediction of what could happen when robots? I mean, we got Tesla and Elon Musk already getting ready to roll these things out. Okay, so that's a whole other thing. What I think we need to be paying attention to, guys, is World War. In the comments, do you guys think we're going to see World War III? Because they're making allies on one side, and on the other side, people are very upset at what America's doing with the Arab nations. We haven't even talked about Venezuela yet, guys. The airfields, being cleared out. The presence of American marine aircraft carriers, submarines with nuclear capabilities is at an all-time high. Why do you guys think that is? They're right about to get rid of Maduro, threatening him. There's already, reports that he's not even in Venezuela anymore. He's in Brazil because he's protected there. What in the world is going on? While we're talking about Candace Owens and Charlie Kirk and finding out the truth and hoping that the FBI does the right thing, while we're going through all of these things, what is happening with the world? What is happening with Russia, Ukraine? What's really happening with France? I kind of feel like somehow France holds all the cards when it comes to Russia and Ukraine. If Maduro gets kicked, and now this oil that they're a rich nation, by the way, they got a lot of oil. What are the other countries going to say about that? They're going to say, wait a second, you can't just get rid of, a president, a leader of another nation. And that could really, really heat things up like never before. I mean, you guys can't possibly believe that these won't be implicated or won't be problematic for other nations, right? So anyways, yeah, listen, Patriot over 50. I believe that 100% because France, man, they really, really get on the left liberal side. Candace actually talked about this today. She was talking about how it's like the mecca for transgender and the LGBT community. It really is. But that's not the only evil that is going on in those areas, in those regions, right? There's also other things like, listen, Brigitte Macron supposedly was dating him at a very young age when she was 40 years old. That's some crazy stuff, man. And that type of stuff coming out of France is wild. But I want to get back to what could be happening in the world, all right? What could be happening in the world, I think, is happening while we're busy trying to find out, if France is involved, while we're fighting about immigration, while we're fighting about vaccines. And oh, by the way, chemtrails are in the air again now that the government's funded, which is absolutely crazy because we had blue skies for like a month and a half. And all of a sudden we got chemtrails. I don't want to get into that kind of stuff because that's nuts. But the point is that there's other stuff that's going on while we got our nose in our phones, our faces on our phones, in our screens, consuming content over and over again about things that matter, but not in the grand scheme of things. I think something serious could be happening with this world in the next year or two. Where, you got this meteor that's flying and supposedly going to hit, and then you got World War that's about to happen. We haven't even talked about pathogens and pandemics and viruses that are still being manipulated and messed with. There's a lot going on, and there's still a lot to do in this nation. There's still a lot to happen still. There's a lot that the government, President Trump and his agenda was set out to do, and there's 3 more years to do it. How far is the left going to go? How much further are they going to fight us? How much more are they willing to take this fight? What are they willing to do? Like, we can't forget what they did with the pandemic last time. Don't forget how far they're willing to take this. They wanted your churches shut down. They wanted you not to get together. They wanted you 6 feet apart. They wanted you masked. They didn't want you to talk to each other, to meet with each other. They wanted you to stay in your house while the big corporations got bigger and bigger and more rich and more wealthy. And they got more control of all the things that we thought we had control of. And it come to find out that they even had control of not just elections, but the medical field. They have control of our food. They have control of the air, water. I think it's ridiculous to think that we can run out of water when this globe is full of water, 70% or more of water. The wars that we are going in will show us how much they're in control, unless you're willing to continue to fight. Unless you're willing to continue to push back against the narrative. You have to speak up. You can't, I love Charlie's message. That's why they really went after Charlie, because they went after a voice that was unstoppable. And I think it was too late anyway, because he's changed millions of people's lives. I watched another debate today that he had with a young man at Texas College regarding DEI and race theory and all the things that he fought for, all the things that they accused him of being racist for. And I was just blown away at the masterclass he would put on, at walking you through not only the things that he believed, but questioning the things that you believed by asking you the right questions. And I think that's what we need to continue to do, is ask the right questions, but ask them openly and loud, and don't stop and don't quit. This channel is extremely small, right? We're nowhere near Candace Owens or Charlie Kirk. But if you have millions of people like this channel speaking up, you can make a change. You can make a difference. We can't just, I get tired of people saying, well, the government's going to do what they're going to do. We're just living in it. Well, that's not true. There are revolutions. There are fights in history where the people prevailed. And just like, the old story of William Wallace, if you guys ever watched that movie, Braveheart with Mel Gibson, one of my favorite movies. At the very end, his last cry as he was executed on stage for everyone to see was freedom. And that's where freedom stops or lies. It stops with you, but continues with your voice, even if it's your last breath. So for my very last breath and your very last breath, it should be about freedom. That's what we're fighting for. We're not fighting to find out just the truth of what happened to Charlie, or even what's going on in the government, or what's going on in the world. We're fighting for our freedom of speech, our right to assemble, our right to go to church or to say what we want to say. That's the fight. And you have to keep going and never quit. Just like you say here, let's do this. Let's go. never quit. And I don't know about you guys, I'm never going to quit. Until next time, we'll see you again.